Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Winchester Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, December 16th. I'm going to go over the agenda before we move into public hearing. The first order of business tonight is a public hearing for special permit PB 25-6. That's for what's commonly known as 10 Converse Place. After the public hearing is done, we'll move on to other business. We have board and staff updates. We have other business. We have approval of minutes, which I may ask that we punt till the next meeting, depending on what time it is. And we have adjournment. So with that, I would welcome a motion to move into public hearing on special permit PB 25-6.
So moved.
Second.
Let's do a roll call vote. Start on this side. Nick?
Present.
John?
Present.
Carrie?
Present.
Jack?
I thought this was an aye or nay vote.
It is an aye or a nay, but I think it was understood what present meant.
Okay, fine.
I'm also present as well, and aye. So we are in public hearing. We have a lot of new faces here tonight, so I was going to start with a quick recap of where we were for those who have not been with us before. So previously at the Planning Board, 10 Converse Place received a special permit by the Planning Board in 2022 for a 5-story structure on the approximate 25,000 square foot lot located in the CBD and in the PUD. This is a privately owned site, and of note, the grassy lawn area is also private land too. Subsequently, the original developer was unable to complete the project. A new developer with the same architect returned with some proposed changes. It was the opinion of the board at that time that the changes were significant and would require resubmission. About the same time, we received word from the state DEP that approximately 10,000 of the 25,000 square feet would need to be left undisturbed. The same new developer, who's here tonight, redesigned and resubmitted the building to have a smaller footprint and at the same time to be about 7 feet taller than the previously approved design. After months of review and countless public comments and emails, we have thus far approved 2 waivers for setbacks, allowing them to be set back further on the property edge than by right. We have also conditionally approved 2 waivers for height and floor area ratio. Those conditions were, in brief, that the development exceed the inclusionary housing requirement by 1 unit, thus have 4 affordable and 2 workforce units, that the board and the developer mutually agree on materials and colors for the top 2 floors, that the majority of the newly created open space be for public use, that the open space be maintained by the developer, or the development, I should say. 5, that the commercial space on Mill Pond be an eating establishment to allow the public to enjoy this new area. And 6, that a mutually agreed upon amount of money would be paid annually by the Homeowners Association for continued maintenance of the Mill Pond. So tonight, we welcome back Urban Spaces to address any changes and other conditions set forth by the board. I'm pleased to see that many of these have been addressed and, dare I say, agreed to in their submission tonight. It's my hope that we can come to agreement on all of these in principle tonight, and if not, at our next meeting. It's also my expectation that we will walk through the site plan review requirements. I do not expect a special permit vote tonight, and the special permit requirements beyond the waiver conditions will be reviewed at the next meeting, assuming we make it through site plan review tonight. So for an agenda, tonight I'm going to try something that's a little different. We have a lot of people here. I'm going to start with public comment. I'm not going to time anybody, just going to let you come up and speak. Not going to be using the TV. Not going to be allowing anybody to use the TV for document review or anything. It's just going to be your chance to come up and tell us what you think. After that, we're going to invite the applicant to the table to talk to them. And then after that, we'll work on this standard by standard on the site plan review. And we'll have questions, and I'm sure that they'll be addressed. And if we get through all of them, we'll open up the meeting for the board to discuss among ourselves topics not related to site plan review. We are going to have a hard stop for this public hearing tonight at 9:30 p.m. So wherever we are at that point in time, we're going to be done, and we're going to continue it at that point in time. So with that, I would like to open the public hearing to public comment.
I just have a procedural question. Are there any new drawings? Are there any changes in design? I don't understand how we can have a comment without seeing any images.
Everything is online in the town.
Public hearing.
Yeah, you're welcome to come up and speak then. That's why I'm giving you a chance to speak. If you don't want to speak, I won't force you.
I mean, we could just put pictures of what we have so that people can reference them.
It-
There are no changes, however, to what has been online.
What's online is what's,
The model, like
the model is the same.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Everything, we put a packet online before the meeting, and that is up to date with everything that we have. What we have is what's in that packet.
Is that the 9-page one?
It's 177 pages.
Okay.
I mean, I welcome.
The last meeting that we had?
The last meeting we had was
December 2nd.
December 2nd, but we didn't discuss. We didn't hear it on December 2nd. November 18th.
There are no design changes since November 18th.
Nothing exterior. No.
No? Can you just state that aloud again, just so people can hear that?
There are no design changes or changes to the building except for unit count since November 18th, the last public hearing.
So,
Hey, look, I'm pulling up the packet, and it only has 9 pages, one online, and that's the one that I downloaded.
no, it had 177 when I pulled it up.
171?
171, I could be wrong.
It's so much of it is the traffic study. I mean, a metric ton of it is the traffic study.
I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I've got 171 also.
This one here?
Yeah. I'll take a second.
Why?
I'm not sure what year is this.
I mean, if people don't want to do public comment now, if the board doesn't want to hear public comment now, we can postpone it to
No,
another
let's
time.
do it.
Oh, it's fine. It's
Okay,
I think that's it.
not, I mean,
I think it's good.
so I would open it up to public comment. If anybody would like to come up and give a public comment, I would welcome you. We're not going to time you tonight, so you won't hear me saying your time is over. You just have to sign into the paper right up there, and I see a hand raised, so come on up.
Need to push us?
Nope.
No, I'm Julie Broderick. I'm a member of the Winchester Historical Commission, and I don't think many of our members were able to attend tonight, so I'm here to reiterate the Historical Commission's position on this project. We have voted several times that we believe the project is going to have an adverse impact on the historical resources of the town. We feel that the building is still far too big, especially far too tall, and that it will dwarf our charming and beautiful, generally two to 3 story town center. And we've taken several votes in this position, and I want to reiterate that again tonight, that the Historical Commission is very much against this project, and we discussed it again at our latest meeting, and that was reiterated again. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Come on up. Oh, you're all going to get to it, so whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Alan, you go.
I'm not going to.
I just want to ask, could we have public comment after the discussion with the developer, after we just see what they've agreed to?
I mean, we
Could we
can.
have it then?
That could be a way to do it. We're going to. This public hearing is not going to end tonight. We're going to have. This is going to continue into January, so you can wait till after they speak in January, and you'll be able to see that. And I mean, it's going to continue on. So.
Go. Okay, well, that answers one of my questions. Ellen Spencer. I'm currently a member of the Design Review Committee, but I'm also speaking as a private citizen. One of my questions was, I thought maybe you were actually doing a vote tonight. But one of the things I'm glad to hear you're not, because I attended back in November, the session with the architect here at Town Hall, where he was showing us around the model. And it was very useful, and much more useful than trying, by the way, to deal with it online, because there's a number of glitches in it. There's a lot of default stuff to aerial views and all that kind of thing. But that session was very interesting, and in that session, I object to the height, you know I do, but what we talked about in that session with the architect was the problematic nature of the design, particularly of the top 2 floors, the 6th floor in particular, in that if we're going to have that kind of height, we need a better design on the top. And the architect was, at the time, amenable to finding some solutions. And what I wanted to say tonight was I would hope that before any final vote is taken, that there are some of these changes would be presented, some of these other options, because once you permit it, you will have no further opportunity to weigh in on the design of this building, and by wide agreement. Not only is it too tall, and it's not right. It looks like a bunch of warehouses. So I'm just saying that I think that there's still some design work that needs to be done, and the architect actually, as I said, was willing to entertain that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe we can, as a board, just make a note of that to...
Taking notes.
Okay. We can work on it as a group, perhaps.
I find that it might be helpful. I find that a helpful comment because it has a specific ask attached to it, and it might be helpful to remind people that the site plan review and the special permit process lies ahead, and if folks have a specific ask around getting to okay with the building or improving the town's experience of the building, those are the most helpful comments.
I think you just said that.
I'm directing it to the chair, out of courtesy to the chair.
No, I just organizing it. I've got no more voice than you, so thank you. Yes, so come on up, and then get you over there. Anybody who raises their hand will keep on going.
Marilyn Gagalis, town meeting member for Precinct 1. He is a private citizen, actually. My question is, I know there's a lot of controversy over the height, but has the communications towers and all that's contained in the basement of the current building for all the communication towers, is that supposed to be on the roof? Has anyone discussed what that's going to be like? There are, as I understand it, there's Verizon, and I think there's 3 telecommunications that are there in the building. And from what I understand, it takes up a large portion of the basement. And then I heard that may go to the roof along with an antenna. Has this even been discussed? Because that's on the current building now.
We need that, yeah, obviously. I don't know if we have the information yet, as far as I know.
I don't know that we have any information as far as what the towers will.
Right, but that's a very important point that we do need to have.
Right, because that will, not only will it add to the height, but it would also add to the detraction of all of that on the roof, making it quite an eyesore, I would think, especially where there will be no room for it in the basement, because there won't be one.
I don't have an answer for that, and I guess what I'll say is, when they come on up, I'll relay
That'd be
that
great.
question directly.
Thank you very much.
It does relate to the roof design.
Yeah.
Yes,
So it dovetails neatly into that.
great. Well, thank you for your attention.
Board members remind me to ask that when they come up.
Writing down. Wrote.
And saw a question over there, and then we'll go this way. Don't worry, I will not.
We're out in the hallway here, so we...
No,
it's okay, but
are there?
just wanted
I've tried to pull as many seats over.
We're really good.
There's one more seat here. I could.
We're good, but thank you. I just wanted to...
Brian actually might be willing to give up his.
I could go in the hall. Come on up.
All right, hi everybody. You know I secretly want to be one of you.
Election coming up.
Willing to head to the hall.
Election coming up. Be
Brian and I
careful
will
what
be
you
at
wish for.
Lucia's.
I just have a couple handouts for y'all. I think these came through in the other one. Should be a copy for everybody. You can go down that way. Oh, thanks.
Just differ from what you sent.
It's one is different and one is updated. So
Just want to make sure we have the most recent one
yeah,
available for the
that's
file.
why I did that as well. So
Just state your name for the record.
I will, yeah, thank you. All right. Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Roeder, 8 Sheffield West, Precinct 5 Town Meeting member. Thank you very much for your long hours of work on this board. It's not lost on me that over the last few weeks when I've been focused on this project, you've had a lot of other things that you have to do through this board. So I appreciate all that work. I handed out 2 things for you. One is the most up-to-date list of some feedback that I did gather through a website from residents about mainly the height of the building and specifically the 6th floor. So that feedback is there. There's comments as well as names.
Is there a second document too, did you say?
And then there's a second document that has some of the zoning bylaws from Chapter 7.3
Oh, we got it.
that I just pulled that, as I was thinking through it, had some questions about, and I'll touch on a couple of those, but those are the 2 things that I wanted to hand out. I think that it feels to me that there's kind of a near universal opinion that a 6th floor building of this mass is a little too large. That's not new information. The project is asking, the way I think about it, the project is asking for extra height and extra FAR. And as far as I can tell, the justification for that is that without it, the project would not be economically viable. In my reading of the bylaws, I don't see a provision for granting those things for the purpose of the economic viability of the project. Instead, I see extra height as something that you get for things that are valuable to the town. Things like housing diversity, specifically, is called out. So I feel like there might be a little mismatch there. Also, in contemplating the award of something extra, I think we're assuming that the fundamentals requirements are met. Those are not optional. And again, in my reading, I'm not sure that they all are, and that's one of the reasons why I printed that out, and I'll touch on just a couple of them, but not all of them, I promise. To be fair, many aspects are met, and there's a lot of things about this project that are very good, so I'm not saying they aren't. Some of the things that are a little questionable revolve around historic preservation of historic resources, some of the design elements that we talked about, the uniqueness of our town center and others. So these are things that others have echoed. So we have a project asking for something extra, but aside from that one extra unit, not really offering anything extra. And then we also have some, I think, remaining questions about the foundational requirements, which we'll probably get to in some of these other processes that you're talking about, site review and so forth. So kind of further on that point, that document that I handed out, it has some sections from 7.3 that I tried to highlight. I'll just touch on 1 or 2 of them. At the very top, 7.3.14, it's talking about promoting and protecting historic resources and our small town character. I think the question is, does this 6th floor building promote and protect our historic resources, small town character? We heard a little earlier from Historic Commission that their view is it does not. It talks a lot about, in 7.3.14.6, more diverse housing opportunities. I know you guys talked about this a lot. I struggle to see that this building is really giving more diverse housing opportunities. It's giving the minimum +1, but that's the main criteria, it seems to me, for giving extra to the project, and I'm just not sure about that. I'll skip ahead to the end because I know there's many people here. One of the things it does say in 7.3.16.1 is it gives you the opportunity to request additional materials at your discretion. This is on the last page of that second handout. And I think given the unique situation of this project, with the prior bankruptcy, with the status of the bank and their state of mind, the cell phone antenna revenue, it would be very reasonable to ask for perhaps more detailed financial information than may normally be the case, given all these factors. And also just, I'll wrap it up here. In regards to 40B, sort of the elephant in the room, or I kind of think the elephant not in the room, I commented on this in my letter. I do feel like the possibility of that is actually quite low, especially given the commitment of this developer, and I think their reputation for securing permits and working with towns. I believe that. Also, it seems that, and Taylor and I talked briefly about this via email, it seems like we're probably close, and I'm a little out of my range here, to the temporary safe harbor that 40B does provide. We've had projects, Cross Street Sanctuary, Soon Waterfield, Washington Swamp. We've had some projects that are incrementing on our 10%, and I don't know, but I wonder if there is an opportunity soon where we will be in temporary safe harbor, and that would drop the risk, to very low, to zero. So, as I ended my written comment letter, this holiday season, I urge you to consider giving the town the gift that I think it really wants, which is a project that is perhaps only, extra large, not extra large. Giving it a project that respects the historic character of the town and doesn't set a precedent for other PUDs in the CBD that we may we may come back and regret. It is interesting to me to note that if you take the 48 base feet plus the 10 feet open space, that gets you to 58 feet. The top of the 5th floor of their proposal is 47 feet 4 inches. Maybe that's just random coincidence, or maybe it's fate. I don't know, but that actually fits nicely inside that.
The 4th floor, you mean?
5th floor, I believe, unless I looked at it incorrectly. 58 feet.
I think that's got to be the 4th floor.
58?
48, you said. Did you say 50?
No, sorry, I meant the 48 feet plus the 10% open space bonus gets you to 58 feet.
That makes sense. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Sorry.
And that 58 feet seems to correspond, interestingly, very much so with that 5th floor. Last thing, I happen to notice at the last minute, there's a cool map in the post office.
Saw that, yeah.
Did you see that? I literally saw this just the other day. It's a map.
Never seen that.
A little, tourist map from 1989, roughly. Brian, you probably know that. But it says, Winchester is a classic New England town with a picture postcard center. And I thought, yeah, I agree with that. And I honestly believe that this project of this size is jeopardizing that somewhat. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over there. Come on over once he's done.
Can I keep them?
Yes, those are for you.
Okay. Do you want one? No, just me.
Yeah, it is packed house. I'm sorry about the seats.
I'm happy to see that.
I'll leave these for you guys. Thanks.
Come on over.
Thank you.
My name is Deborah Johnson. Do you want to know what district I'm in? District 4? I live by the town forest. So I'm ill-prepared for tonight. This was a last-minute thing. But I have to say I also am under Converse Place fatigue, because with the first round, which you guys, there were different faces, some different faces at that time in the planning board, I was constantly here, constantly on, constantly online. Morris Sullivan and I were talking about this and that and that. And it was tiring. And I'm thrilled that the Historic Commission has said to this particular version, no, because previously they said yes, which was shocking. So I don't remember, I couldn't find the zoning law. But when you look at the zoning law that they made, 10 years ago, whenever it was, about this special district, it specifically said that it should be in keeping with the Georgian architecture. It goes through 2 or 3 different types of architectures that you have downtown, and it specifically says it should be in keeping with those, which this clearly is not. I mean, when you look at the firehouse, the bank, which changes names all the time, but I can't remember which bank it is now, but the bank, even the additions to Lincoln, the addition to the library were very carefully done. They're very much on public display. They're part of that Mill Pond area, and they were very carefully thought through. They're not boxes, and this is very truly a box. And, if you have to kind of think back to when they were building Town Hall, when they were building the White Building, it clearly cost more to build it the way they did. It required more, workmanship to do what they did. But they decided to build that White Building with the curve of the road and made a gorgeous building that we all get to enjoy every single time we walk by, down Main Street today. Right now, we're dealing with a laundry building, which I don't know anyone who likes it. Maybe there's some people who do, but I don't know anyone who does. And this just seems like another iteration of the laundry building. We've got the height now. It doesn't seem like the height's really changing. If anything, I don't know if it's a little bit taller, a little bit shorter. And it's a big box. And it's a big box that I haven't seen the most recent plans, perhaps. And I appreciate that the architect, I know architecture is an art, and I appreciate that someone has worked hard on these plans. But when you look at the different aspects of this building, you've got that zigzag going down Converse Place. You've got the kind of tall vertical elements facing the town hall. It's a very different look with the horizontal, I think, if it still has the horizontal line, which I think is a nice look, on Mount Vernon. It's like all four, I think if I saw all four of these, I would recognize the materials were the same, perhaps, but, the window sizes, everything is just a little funky. So I can't understand how this building belongs where it is being put. I really can't. The second part of this is I'm on the Disability Access Commission. So I do want to say, from that standpoint, I'm not speaking for the commission, but for myself, I'm a physical therapist. So one of the things I look at is how people get from point A to point B. The original building with that puzzle piece, parking garage and everything is just not very functional, and those things fail. So I was thrilled that the new building has a garage, and I think that's a wonderful change. So yay for that. And I just think the other thing is to please be very aware of your access points, because, I know that the idea of this building is, people don't need a car necessarily. They're on the train line. But people still have to get groceries, and people have kids that they have to get in and out of cars when they go to grandma's house. So people will still have cars. We're not in Boston. And the prior building had really terrible access, quite honestly, when you looked at it from Converse Place. Like in terms of a contractor coming into work or somebody moving and having to bring things. But you also have to think about when somebody's pulling up, with their kids, and they have to get 3 kids out of the car with car seats, or you have someone who's in a wheelchair or using a walker, and they have to get their groceries out or whatever. So that's all I'm just asking is please be it's a very narrow street. I know they try to fit everything they can in there. They try to fit it really close to the, the sidewalk, the building for access. I understand all that, but please prioritize that when you're at that point of the game. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate especially comments on disability access. It's always welcome. Thank you.
The Disability Access Commission is always happy to review plans if you ever need us to.
We should make sure they do that.
And
thank you.
Somebody from the back, and then we'll take somebody from the front. I see. Sorry, what did you say?
I just wonder if we have any that are against that we want to. Or it doesn't matter. I guess.
Against what?
Or there are 4.
I'm just going to take them in order because I'm going to let everybody. Everybody can speak. Everybody. So. I don't want anyone to say we didn't allow them to speak. So please.
Hi, I'm Colleen Mohide, and I live at 2A Rangeley Ridge Road, and I'm really just here to follow up on what other people have said about the picture-perfect aspect of the town that I really feel like is being eroded to a significant degree. It seems like every few years things happen that change the character. And living where I do, my house backs right up to the train station where the train stops, and then the parking lot behind the stores on Waterfield. And so I know you're all aware, but other people may not be, that there's plans for a 65-unit or thereabouts development to go up in the next several years. And so we'll be having a very large development going on that side of downtown, and now this one would be being added on the other side. And I just feel like the character of a nice downtown that flows into neighborhoods is we're going to be ringed by large apartment buildings. And I just feel like these two together are going to change the character of downtown to a degree that we're just getting squeezed tighter and tighter. And it's just going to be different. I feel like we'll be living in Newton or Brookline, where it's more city than really a nice downtown and preserving the character. I also really object to the height of this, like everyone else. I mean, the Park View is such an eyesore, and this would be the height of that. And I don't think anyone wants that kind of skyline. If Winchester approves a building of that height, it should go someplace else. Let's see.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
No, take your time. Thank you. Come on up, sir. Sorry. Like I said, we'll get to everyone, so.
Hi, I'm Joe Randolph. I live at 325 Highland Avenue here in Winchester. And I had two concerns or thoughts that I wanted to convey tonight. The first is that I feel like it happened very quickly between the time when I got to see what this would look like, which was just at the November meeting, and it was Jamie Duvall's drawings that flashed on the screen. And I got to look at those more later, and I really, I just think this thing is too tall. It's just too tall. So that's a commonly held view, but I really think it detracts from the downtown. But the other thing, which is related to its height, I'm a retired telecom engineer, and I know a little bit about placing cell phone radios. And a lot of people consider them maybe hazardous to their health, and I don't think they're going to want a radio outside their window in this building. So I think the radios are going to end up on poles off of the roof, and you may have some pushback about, well, how high up are they to get them safely away? So I think any renderings that you show in the future of the building should show how you plan to solve that problem. I don't think it's solvable without poles. So we have a building that's already too high, and now it's going to be festooned with antennas. And that's, the antennas on the Mill Pond building are one of the things that make it unattractive. And we need to do the best we can to not repeat that mistake with this project. That's
Thank you.
My two thoughts.
Thank you. And I'll reiterate that'll be a question that we're going to be asking tonight. I promised Marilyn I would ask that. So. Anyone else? So you can come up as soon as he's done.
I'm John Serbier. I'm chairman of the Housing Partnership Board. These are awkward remarks because I had anticipated reacting to the slides that will be shown next. But I've looked at them. I looked at what was in the packet on the affordable housing proposal. So I'll give these remarks now, or I can wait. But the Housing Partnership Board will discuss the proposed affordable housing design tomorrow night when we meet. So these comments represent my personal observations and recommendations and that I'll make to the Housing Partnership Board. Based on the information contained in the slide presentation, unless it's changed, the 6 units of income-restricted housing that are now proposed is consistent with the inclusionary zoning provisions that are contained in the zoning bylaw, with 4 units affordable at for households earning up to 80% of the Boston area median income, and 2 affordable for households earning up to 120%. The distribution of the units by floor, I think, is more or less consistent with the requirements of the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. I think they will accept the units being on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and 5th floor, but not on the 1st and 6th floor. They want them uniformly distributed, but I think they will be flexible in that. Four of the units are facing the pond side, if I read that correctly. 2 are on the Converse Place side. So this also is consistent with EO HLC requirements. The distribution of the units by number of bedrooms and by floor area size also should be okay on that. 2 issues have not yet been addressed in the material I looked at in the packet, in that the housing plan requirement contained in the zoning code requires that the approximate price of the units be communicated to the planning board. This information is contained in the financial pro forma that the developer would have prepared, that would include the estimated selling price for each unit. This information should be provided to the planning board on that. The opponents have consistently characterized this building as luxury housing. I don't know whether it is or isn't, but absent a response from the developer, then I have to assume that that they agree that it's luxury housing, and that's exactly what we're getting. It would be nice to have clarification on that. The final comment concerns parking that will be provided for the income-restricted units. The new plan is now proposing 38 units, if I'm interpreting that correctly, and with 34 parking spaces. So there's now
36.
less.
It's 36 now.
What?
36 spaces now.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that right, Paul?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I read the plans wrong.
Thank you.
Anyway, it doesn't change my recommendation.
Yeah.
My recommendation is that the purchasers of each of the income-restricted units be offered the opportunity, and the parking is going to be unbundled. Is that still correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. They should be offered the opportunity to purchase 1 parking space with the cost of that space prorated in the same percentage as the selling price of the units. This will be consistent with HLC requirements and rules that require the parking to be at least similar, if not identical, to what's made available to the market rate units. On that, if the parking for the affordable units is not prorated, then the selling price will be reduced by the corresponding amount. So the developer will be, it's going to come one way or the other in that. Again, I just want to emphasize, these are my personal observations based on taking 2 looks at the material in the packet. The Housing Partnership Board will discuss these and vote on these tomorrow night, and if it would be helpful, I can then submit a written memorandum.
Thank you very much. That would be very helpful. Actually, before you go, as the chair of the Housing Partnership Board, would it be your anticipation that the OHLC, in determining whether those, particularly the 4 80% AMI units, are acceptable for the SHI, will also look at parking and therefore will opine that they are only acceptable? I mean, do they need to
My
come
guess
in and
is
offer
that
or are
they would
gonna-
not like an alternative that said that the on-site parking would be paid at the same rate as the market rate. They would not like an alternative that said we will not provide any parking for the affordable units. They'll have to find it elsewhere.
Okay.
And that would be consistent with fairly recent conversations. I don't believe that the packet information was sent down to HLC yet, in part because it hadn't yet been presented to the planning board.
Yeah. No, so my question for you for tomorrow night is, one of the requirements, if this project is approved, will be that those 4 are eligible to be included on our SHI.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
so
definitely.
therefore,
And
as a condition, when they look at that, will they opine on parking?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that can be a condition, if approved, that the units must be acceptable to the OHLC.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so I think that'll work itself out.
Really, what I'm saying, and what I've said tonight, is consistent with what is in HLC rules and guidelines. They are. I mean, it used to be that parking was always bundled in, and so their rules are a little ambiguous in terms of how they're treating parking. And so basically what they're going by is that the exterior of the units, of the affordable units, have to be identical to the market rate units. The interiors can be similar. So, you know, the parking has to be at least, and the question is parking interior or exterior? And you could debate that. But in either case, the parking at least has to be similar to what's made available to the market rate units, if not desirably identical, but at least similar.
Perfect.
So you can't be silent about it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So that's another of our points, you know, the roof towers and the parking, probably.
Yeah, I mean, certainly something to ask, but also, as I said, it will be a requirement that the units, if approved, those units are acceptable to the EOHLC. And if parking is a requirement, then that's furthermore part of it. Just like if there's a workout room and there's a fee for using the workout room, and the EOHLC will opine on that as well, as whether that can be full priced or whatever. You know what I mean? So, yeah, come on up.
Hi, everyone. I think I've met many of you before, besides John. I'm Michelle McCarthy. I'm with the Winchester Historic Commission. I have been with the commission for, I think, 15 plus years. The same thing I've said before. Thank you to this developer and architect. I know how much work has gone into this. I've met you. I thank you. I know it's a lot. Just make my Christmas. Just take off a story or 2. I think that Jason did some great visual work. I love this. I haven't seen this photo hanging up in the post office. This is a really special town. It's just a special town. It's special people, but our historic downtown is very unique. Many, many years ago, I worked at the Massachusetts Film Office, and I'm still thrilled to see that Winchester is one of the towns that we have more movie productions filmed than many towns in Massachusetts, which is pretty shocking. But it's because of this historic landscape. And I know all of you have a hard vote tonight and in front of you, but I do ask, I am very worried about parking downtown. I know a lot of people park there at night when they're sneaking into China Sky and Lucia's, and I hope that this group can overall look at parking downtown in the future. Another thing to add to your long list of things to do. My question would be, is there a way to, it feels like this developer gets to come in and say, because of the zoning, that like we're going to ask for a special permit and we're going to go this high. Is there a way for the planning board, or maybe for you, Brian, as the chair, do you have any legal authority to sort of negotiate with the bank and say, hey, we love this project, we want to greenlight this, can we work with you? You know, it feels like we're telling the developer we want this project, can you take off a floor or 2, but does the planning board get to talk to the bank? Do you know what I mean? Like, legally, I would just love to learn a little bit more about that, because I feel that a lot of people here are saying, like, thank you for the design. Oh, by the way, I loved when you had the curved parts, more like that matched the bank. I loved that part. I think people here are saying, like, thank you for bringing this to us. Like, thank you for building and making more housing downtown, which is needed. But just, it's too tall, and that's been said over and over. And to clarify earlier on Ms. Johnson's statement, I was on the Historic Commission. it was a very confusing vote. I've explained this to other members. We were told repeatedly we could not, and I kept pushing, we were told repeatedly that we could not vote on the height. And we kept saying as a commission, it's too tall, but we were told that we were not allowed to use that against the design, that we're just really kind of more voting on the design of the building. So that was why that vote was confusing, and why now that we were allowed to vote on it, we did unanimously vote against it. So sorry for that long-winded conversation, but I thank you, and I would just love to find out if there's any way for you to talk to the bank, or to just say like, hey, we want to do this. We want to do it with this group of people, but it's just a little bit too tall. Is that something that's allowed?
I don't know that we can negotiate directly with the bank. We have an applicant before us.
So only they can.
But what I will say is that while the height, you said something, the height is allowed, but it's not required. We're not required to allow them. They're not coming in for a by right project. They're coming for a project with special permit. So it is something that we have to allow by special permit.
Okay.
And we voted to approve to allow the height waiver and the FAR waiver with certain conditions, which have not yet been met. They may be met. Some of them were partially met, but I don't believe we can negotiate with the bank ourselves. They're not before us. The bank, the developer is before us.
We're not the customer.
So,
I was just
we
throwing out a little wish.
We could certainly ask them what their finances are, but it's up for them to talk about.
I'll leave that to the other lawyers.
That's
in the
not for
room,
us,
but-
really. But.
Okay.
I mean, we can surmise that the property is not worth the full $7 million now because the Conservation Commission ruled against the prior design. So it's probably worth something less than that at this point.
Okay.
It's a good point, Nick.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can't find a seat, we can pull over something else. Come on up.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity for comment. My name is Matt Steinschneider. I'm a basic resident. I'm not sure what precinct I'm in, but I live near Wedgmere Station.
Find out.
Run for town meeting.
And yeah, so I just wanted to share, I think maybe echoing some earlier comments, I think the historical nature of the downtown is a really valuable asset for the town, and I think something that is definitely really important to preserve. For me personally, I actually am in favor of thickening and developing the downtown, adding more housing. So I was actually excited to learn that this was happening. I do share some of the concerns. Just for me personally, it's less about the height and just also about the way that the design aligns with the architecture in the area, especially, though I would say especially really just those, the fifth and sixth, especially the sixth floor. So yeah, just wanted to share those thoughts, and yeah, appreciate the opportunity to comment.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That is an interesting point, and one of the things we spoke with the architect about, I think it's hard for an architect to make the changes that we're looking for because it's almost like we're relinquishing the artistry of what's already been done, and I think that's a hard thing, but I think that's something that people are asking for, and I think we can get there. I think we can get to yes on the design. But it's going to be hard. I mean, in one sense, it's like the architect's going to be rolling it over in their grave to make the changes before they're even dead. It's a very tough situation for them, from what I'm gathering.
Need to get that in the minutes, that exact quote.
But we have been asking for, I mean, there's one comment here, a Flemish kind of bookend, just a lot more contextual, I guess I'd say, is I think, and I think the reason why the original framers did not put a restriction on height is not to allow an extra floor, but to give the architects freedom to design maybe with a pitched roof that would add a little bit of height. So anyway, but I do appreciate your comments.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. Oh, you come up first, and either way, you're standing.
Celia.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Thank you, though.
Hello, board. Thank
Hello.
you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Been following along Ricky Bellevaux, Wedgmere Avenue. Been following along, watching this project along the way, and I think where it's at today, I think the developer and the board have done a great job. I'm seeing that it's a good balance between a project that can be built and financed, but also delivers for the town in ways that we need. I'm looking at the property that's currently sits on the site today, and that's not historic, and it's been an eyesore for a long time. I've been coming to Winchester for a long time, since I was in college in Northeastern, and that building's always been an eyesore, and I think this is a great opportunity to put something there that can be beautiful, not for just now, but into the future, the next 100 years. I think the developer has done a great job using brick. It's extremely expensive facade that he's doing here. The underground parking, extremely expensive. What that is allowed for is first floor commercial and for activation on the street level with units, which is incredible on this type of project for this size project. The stepped back upper floors, it works. We've seen it work before. You have the 4 stories and then stepping the back. When you look down the street and you see that first cornice line, and then those are stepped back, it will make the building seem smaller. And it still allows for a project to actually be built. And my biggest fear for the community is this goes 40B, and that someone shows up and builds a big, ugly hardy board box, and that everyone in this town is looking at what we had the opportunity to have and thinks about it then and says, I can't believe we have this ugly hardy board box in the center of our town when we could have had this brick building that the developer is taking tons of time to build something beautiful. The variety of housing, right? So my mother-in-law, she comes in with our kids all the time. I'd love to be able to have her live in the middle of town, in an elevator building, parking in the garage safely, having my kids down in the middle of town, a place where she can live, have a condo, right? There's not a lot of that inventory in town. This is going to deliver that, as well as affordable housing. The additional tax bases, right? We need additional taxes in this town. This will deliver on that. The final piece is the conditions you guys put on there were perfect. The ones from the last meeting, those are great conditions to require him to review, because those are important aspects for that additional height he's getting. And I think every single one that you did is a great thing for him to have to review and come back with. So I was actually really impressed, and I thought the board did a great job with those conditions.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Like somebody saying something nice about me. I'll take whatever little bit I can get. So actually, we'll start with you, and then yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charlene Band. Can you hear me? Really?
I'll bring the
Hold the
microphone
mic closer, and then it.
Okay. I always feel like I'm shrieking. First of all, I would really like to thank all of the members of the planning board. You have worked so hard. You have listened carefully to everything that everyone has said. And once again, I really appreciate it. I have already provided my comments on the proposed development, but I would just like to recap some of them, looking at a different way. And I would also like that anything I say, I mean no disrespect to the developer. Okay, I became really familiar with the properties developed by Urban Spaces, and this is all readily available on their website. And here's my takeaway. 2 projects in Boston were completed. One is 5 stories and the other is 6 stories. The population of Boston is 673,000 people. There are 8 projects in Cambridge. One is a commercial building, and it is 1 story. One is 3+ stories. 3 are 4 stories. 1 is 5 stories. 2 are 6 stories. These are all mixed use. The population of Cambridge is 118,000 people. A mixed-use development in Salem is 6 stories. The population of Salem is 45,000. In Reading, a mixed-use development is 4 stories. The population of Reading is 25,500 people. The main point I wish to make is Boston, Cambridge, and Salem are cities that are much larger and more dense than the towns of Reading and Winchester. Of 11 projects in these cities, only 4 are 6 stories, which can more easily be accommodated in their neighborhood. Urban Spaces proposes a 6-story building in the heart of Winchester. The population of Winchester is only 23,000 people. This is our little tiny town. The visual provided by, oh, excuse me, I made a mistake here. My question is it appropriate or beneficial to build a 6-story residential building in our historical little town? In my opinion, it is not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As soon as she's...
Oh, I didn't mention that I live in Winchester. I'm in Precinct 5.
I actually know you. I think we're friends, or at least we were.
Brian, so far we have been friends.
We'll see what happens.
It depends on what my Christmas gift is.
Holding it in abeyance, yes.
Planning board, AKA Santa.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I'm just joking. We will continue to be friends on my end.
Hello, I am Heidi Retzstein DeLeo. I'm in Precinct 4. I've lived in Winchester more than 35 years, and I'm also a small business owner in downtown Winchester. And I live within a mile of the center of town. I agree a lot with what Ricky said, actually. We need this housing, and we need more affordable housing than we're even putting here. My concern is, as with everybody else, most people, is the height. It's a very historic-looking town, and I really hope that whatever design, it sounds like there's going to end up being a 6th floor. So whatever design that you come up with really needs to mirror a lot of what's here. It shouldn't be that unique in a historic way. It should mirror what's here. And as far as the parking is concerned, so yes, parking is an issue downtown. Retail businesses are really suffering downtown. My hope is that with more housing and more affordable housing, that there'll be an increase in retail revenue. I do have another concern that I'm not getting the sense that we're maybe getting enough back out of this project as we could financially. So I'd just like you to keep that in mind when you're going and approving whatever else you approve. I'm really not concerned about a 40B project because I feel like something here will go in. But anything is better than the building that is now. So it would be great if we had a Christmas and a Hanukkah present of no 6th floor, but at least if you're going to do the 6th floor, please make it maybe even smaller than what you have and more in keeping with what we see already in town. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heidi. And additional public comment? Were you coming up? Okay, come on up first, and then the hand that was raised behind you. Really going to let everybody go. I'm not. No time limits, just. If you want to come up while she's just writing her name, it's going to take her a while.
Your time. Hi, everyone. Good to see you again. I was here in November when we reviewed this most recently and when the conditions were brought forth to the table. And I want to say that I said it then, but I say it again.
Record, just state your name.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Amy Beliveau. I live over on Wedgemere. Precinct 7, if that is relevant. The conditions put in place at the last meeting and requested of the development team help to guarantee that Winchester is going to get the best 69 feet we can get. The height waiver was conditionally granted at the last meeting. The FAR waiver was granted conditionally at the last meeting. If this building as proposed is built, these metrics will be in place for this property. As a community, instead of harping on it's too tall, which we all have said and feel, let's make sure that as a community we are coming together to get the best 69 feet we can. What can we do to make, as has been stated, the top 2 floors fit into the feel of downtown better? Is there a design feature that the Historic Commission would like to see brought forward? Can the bay windows on the converse side look a little bit more historic than a triangular shape? These are things that we can look at as a community or as the planning board, a design review. I believe that was one of your original conditions, was the top 2 floors would be the town would help design these floors. That's a condition that was already brought to the table that will have to be met by the team in order to get the special permit approved. We have an opportunity to have control over something that might feel too big, it might feel too tall, but there are buildings in town that are short and that are still not historic. There are buildings in town that are beautiful and tall. We are sitting in one of them, and it needs a lot of help financially to maintain this historic feature. This project will give us tax revenue that will help maintain Town Hall, the most historic building that every single resident in town uses every year. We have an opportunity to come together as a community and get a beautiful green space that we do not have today because the parking is moving underground. There is a lot to gain from this project. I know it feels tall, but we can do things to make the height feel less intrusive, to honor the history of downtown, and to still give the town what it needs. And I think the important thing now is to say, if this project gets its special permit per the conditions, how do we get the best bang for our 69-foot buck? And thank you for all of your time and dedication. It's clearly weighed heavily on all of you.
Thank you very much.
Well, one thing that was, I like what you said, was that the town will help design these floors, and I somehow that's connected into the conditions.
The exterior of the look of the top 2 floors was something that we requested, okay. I'll let them come. I think that was something that was mutually agreeable, that after that was something that we could set either a subcommittee of our board and either their architects or somebody to work on the actual look and feel of those top floors.
Right, and that does bring to mind that there's still time to have a 53G peer review too. I mean, I don't think that would take long. I think we already have someone who's on Washington and Swanton that could opine fairly quickly and really help out. And even if we don't, well, we get the money from the 53G, and then we have them just help us with that. I know that there's someone working on Washington and Swanton that seems to be going along pretty well, so we can think about it.
Additional public comment. Come on up. And then after the gentleman, I'll have. Oh, okay.
My name is D.M. O'Connell, 10 Bacon Street. Ian, if you could, just as a backdrop, could you put up the east elevation facing the pond just as a backdrop for everybody just to...
So as soon as they come up, we're gonna put all the videos up. I'm just not putting anything up now, only because I didn't want to slow down. We have so many people want to get...
I just wanted one image. That was it, just so we could see.
We will certainly have all those images. We'll be up there in a second as soon as they go up there.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm heartened tonight to be here. I'm heartened because there are people here. For the longest period, over 5 years, we had limited participation by the public, by the town, with respect to a project that's going to change the total face of this town for future generations. And for the longest time, I've voiced my concern that this building is way too big. It's way too tall. And there has been a fixation with respect to this building is too tall. And I heartily agree with that. It's just way too tall. But we mustn't miss the point that it's not about the height of the building. It's about the mass of this building. It's the height times the length of it. It's the height of 70 feet, effectively, times over 200 feet long, extending all the way from Mount Vernon Street all the way to Main Street. It is huge, which is why I always was trying to get a physical model of the building, because I felt if you saw a physical model, this project wasn't going to go anywhere at 6 stories. And I still feel that way. So I was disappointed we got the digital one instead of a physical model. So part of the problem with the town is it's divorced from the common by the elevated railway. And now we're going to have another great wall on the other side that divorces sort of the pond from the centre of town. And that's the last thing we want to do. We want to integrate everything, the old historic buildings, the new buildings, back into the overall urban landscape here. I remember the previous developer in his presentation said, because I looked back over the old WinCam files, and he said, this building is a colossal building, he said, and it's appropriate for the downtown. That's what he said. And I was taken back at the time because he was recognizing and acknowledging the fact that it was a colossal building. This building is a colossal building. Make no bones about it. It's big. It's huge. It's a colossal building. And I don't envy you guys. You've been at this for so long. You've got a colossal decision to make. And I am very fearful that a colossal mistake will be made. And this town, for generations to come, will suffer with a behemoth, a massive building in our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He'll ultimately be you in seconds as soon as he gets a chance. Thank you very much.
My name is Catherine Maffei. I have lived in the town almost 40 years on Highland Ave, and I came to the meeting, the last one, I guess it was a month ago, and I really hadn't been following this, but when I saw Jamie Duvall's pop-up floors on the main brick building, I was horrified. I was shocked. I could not believe that our planning board in Winchester is allowing this to happen to our town and to change the character of the downtown area that we love so much. And thinking about each layer popping up, especially the 6th layer, and I'm going to say I am a no 6th floor person, but imagining that with antennas coming out of it as well. And that is even a worse image. And I haven't heard you talk about putting a contingency in place for that, but you are talking about contingencies and putting provisions in place where you still are empowered to some degree, because I think you've almost given away the store at this point. But if you could exercise your ability to curtail having even more unsightly images in our town, I would appreciate that. I think other people would too. And I really hope you will start listening to the majority of the people in this room who are asking you to pull this back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on up. Oh, sorry. I have to look in that way.
Gentleman.
Hi. Thank you for
this meeting. My name is Bill Fouché. I'm a retired architect and consultant in the design of big hospitals. There was a period where I allied with a firm that did projects in England, and I worked on 4 big projects over an 8-year span in the UK. And I got to know English towns. And when I came back to Winchester, it hit me. Winchester has the closest feel to an English town than any town in the United States I've ever been to, any other town has. And I think that's a precious feel. And my number one, or the first concern, is the massing, that I'm concerned will be detrimental to the feel of that we all have and love of this town. But that's not why I came to the meeting. I came to the meeting because this building is massive. It covers the whole site. And what we have is a site bounded by the Aberjona Waterway on 2 sides, Mount Vernon Street with the fire department across from it, a very narrow Converse place with businesses relying on circulation in Converse Place. And I'm wondering if the developer has consulted a builder yet. And I know that builders are very creative on tight sites, and they can do things that I thought they couldn't do. But I'm wondering if the developer has consulted a builder and that the town has negotiated encumbrances with everybody on Converse Space, because that's really the only place that big trucks can set down materials to build this building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I will. That's putting an asterisk next to that.
There's one gentleman over there.
Oh, come on over. Yeah, and then we'll get to this.
Somebody in the rear, too.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eli Forcucci of Salem Street, one of the private citizens, younger residents of this town, I guess. So, I don't know. I'm here tonight not to downplay any of the concerns or criticisms brought up by other residents, but really to speak in favor of this opportunity for housing in our town. Now, I mean, I just want to say it's apparent, I think, to many of us that Massachusetts is in a housing crisis. I think current estimates have put the number of units we have in shortage by like about 220,000. If you were to take that just as Winchester's share of that by population, that would still be in the hundreds of units. That's to say nothing of future growth of the state in the next 50 to 100 years. And I think as a town, we should be considering what kind of role we can play in solving this crisis and where those units of housing could go in our town. And if you look at the map of our town, or the zoning map we have up there, the vast majority of it, outside of that light blue residential general zoning, is all single family and is likely to remain so for some time. And there are not many, greenfield, undeveloped plots of land left in our town for large apartments to go. And so if we want to ask ourselves where we can put housing in our town, this is one of the few sites available that kind of offers us that opportunity. And so I think it's fair to, consider the massing and the architectural details of the building, but ultimately what matters is also providing housing for the residents of our town and for Massachusetts as a whole. I think there's also the other perspective from the town financial side. There's something to be said for the financial resiliency that a building like this would bring. I think you can speak to both on the property tax side for the building itself. It's got commercial, but it also has lots of residential, particularly 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, which are likely to bring fewer new school-age children to town. That would stress our school systems more, while still providing that residential property tax revenue that the town desperately needs, as we're all aware of. And finally, having more residents in the downtown area would allow it to be a livelier area with ideally stronger retail, and that's something that could be leaned upon if ever wanting to increase commercial property tax rates in the future. So I think there's a lot to be said for the long-term economic viability of a building like this, for the health of our town, not just how it looks. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Appreciate it. Come on up. I'm not going to limit anybody. Who else thinks they might want to be making a public comment? I mean, I won't. Okay, so I see a couple. So perfect.
Good evening. I have the wonderful perspective of what it takes for people to be on the planning board, having my my wife having been on it for in the past.
And I'm sorry,
Sally Dale.
Your name is?
My name is Dennis Dale, Precinct 7, 147 Cambridge Street. My background, I'm a landscape architect. I do site planning. I've worked for a company called Bay Water Development down in Darien, Connecticut, Gold Coast. We did a 9.25 acre site in Darien, right on the post road. None of the buildings are more than 4 stories. Matter of fact, most of them are 3 stories. It's a mixed-use development. So it can happen. It looks great. It's a wonderful mixed-use kind of small town feel to the development. I've also worked with Benjamin Thompson Associates in the past, and worked in the UK in Spitalfields, which is a market town, or it's an area of London that has small marketplace mixed-use development with housing up above, just exactly what Winchester is all about. It's a lot of that character. And I'm just surprised that for some reason the fact that the town is willing to go up in this height has everything to do with the character of the town. There's so many towns in the area where there is none of the buildings are more than 3 stories or 4 stories in height generally. You don't go to Brookline and see 6-story buildings lining right near the center of town. There might be a hotel tucked off of Commonwealth Avenue or something like that. But what I'm finding here is that this opportunities that have been given the developer are extras that just don't match what the town really needs. I would say a 4-story building looks great. The particular design, which we'll probably get into, has almost a factory-like look to it on the 4th floor, 4 stories, which is fine because there used to be a lot of factories right here in town. And I was looking at, the maximum height of the factories that were in town were 3 stories plus a mansard roof. Tacking on, it seems really obvious that the developers, the architects, and I know they've spent a lot of time on this, but they seem to just drop this wedding cake of a 5th and 6th stories on the building, and it's going to be 6 stories plus because we're not even talking about what it takes to put the utilities up there, and that's essentially going to be another half story, be another bunch of copper boxes up there. But from the design point of view, and I've working on this project in Darien, the Corbin district, all their utilities are hidden by pitched roofs. And I did write a comment about looking back at certain cities in Europe. I used to travel to Germany to do work, and I would travel through the Netherlands, and the downtown areas have the same kind of quaint qualities that Winchester has. None of the buildings are over 4 stories. It might be 5 stories with a pitched roof, and that's where that Flemish design, whether it's Belgium or Netherlands or what we see over here, where it used to be Filene's on the corner, the Main Street Thompson block there. If that was part of the feeling of this building instead of something completely modern, that'd be great. The other thing, having seen and been through the other presentations for the project, which almost every time they presented the project, they were trying to identify the fact that the building's no bigger than Town Hall, or no bigger than the library, or no bigger than the Lincoln School. And I'm like, it's not a municipal building. You're building housing, and the housing can have a little softer look. It doesn't have to have a grandiose look to it. And I'm surprised that this building seems to be a slightly watered-down version of what was added before. It was this massive building. It's now shrunk down a little bit. Yeah, it sits a little bit off to one side. Even the drawings that were done by the past consultant that we had, Dennis Carlone, the drawings never showed a massive building on the site. It showed two smaller buildings with a courtyard in the center. Yet that was never picked up as part of the guidelines because, for some reason, everyone thought the words were more important than the drawings. Now, this is an architect drawing up these guidelines, and I have to say, the drawings are pretty important relative to what the words say. So I'd just like to comment that even some of the comments from the developers here, Ricky Bellavo and all, it's like, bigger, more money, whatever, that's the attitude. But this is not the place for it. I know that the housing project that's right across from the Whole Foods, we went in there to look at a unit for our daughter, and there are actually units open and available for low-income people there. So they're available. And the other one on, that's just off of Cross Street, is a beautiful building. It's also a 40B building. So the threat of 40B, I wouldn't, I mean, even the one that's going in next to the train station, I know the architects there. They're doing a great job. It's going to be a nice-looking building. So I think that it's possible to have a 4-story building. Maybe it's 5 with a little, that step back, but 6 is ridiculous because it's going to be ending up being 6.5, close to 7 by the time you get the utilities and everything else on top of it. So thank you so much for your time. And I've never been to a project. I've presented many times to communities all around New England and elsewhere, and to not have the drawings up on a board somewhere here is just outrageous. So I just want to say that out loud. I mean, I've been doing this for over 40 years, and not to have the drawings is like, wow, someone got away with it here. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
That doesn't help us now. No, but
Does anybody somebody would like to raise their hand? I'll say somebody with their hand raised. We have a lot of people in this room. We need to just try to keep order, and I'm going to welcome anybody. If you want to come up and say something about that, I'll welcome you up to say something about that.
Hey guys, I'm Isabel McGee. I live on Fletcher Street in Winchester. As somebody who comes from the old country, I will tell you that these quaint little villages and towns in England are all suffering because they don't have affordable housing. The little towns are losing their pubs and their commerce because there is not dense enough downtown housing. So actually, for me as a British person, I really fear for Winchester if we don't go for progress here. I fear that the downtown, quaint as it is going to turn into a relic rather than an active and vibrant downtown. So I'm really excited at the idea of progress. I'm excited at the idea of building something, bigger and better downtown, especially less ugly than what is already there. And at the same time, I think it's too tall. I'm not an expert. It just looks too big for me, height-wise. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I saw a hand. Come on up.
Maureen Meister. You know who I am, Precinct 3, former town meeting member, former chair of this board, former member of this board for 21 years. This is not for you guys, but just for the people who've not encountered me before. Also former member of Design Review, former member of Historical, more than 40 years in town government. I guess there's so many thoughts that crisscross through my mind. I have to tell you, because if nothing else, I'm just straightforward and really blunt. Over and over, I'm hearing from other people, they don't know what they're doing. And I honestly will say, Carrie, thank you. I know you know what's in here. I do. Bless you for that. And Nick, you're giving it your best effort. But we got to get to 3 votes. This is dense stuff. I realize it. Moreover, it actually could use a law degree or somebody with legal training to help you out because you don't know what you're doing. Start with something like a purpose. A purpose has legal value. It's not just a decoration. It's not just like a preface to a book. It actually has meaning, and that's a basis for all the law that follows. So I'll just stay with the law. The law allows for you to bring in expertise because you are citizen volunteers, and a lot of people thank you for it. I do, believe me, I appreciate what it's like. I've been at this table for more years than I wish I'd spent here, frankly. But it's where you need to bring in your experts. By the time we were getting close to doing permitting, when I was on this board, we actually brought in town council. So we had council sitting with us. I remember Mina Mercurius, and he was sitting with us. So we would be going through section by section the various criteria in order. These aren't just randomly thrown in there. These are worked through over the course of at least a year, and then they're brought before the town meeting where they needed a 2/3 vote in order to be adopted. So these are what you should be reviewing. The way you go through law, and you're not doing it. So it really is, you should be starting with the special permit criteria, and you should be working your way through the guidelines specifically for planned unit development overlay districts. I feel as if we could take a match and just set this thing on fire. This is not. These are your regulations that the planning board prior to you had gone through, spent money with other people with expertise, sent it out to council and so forth, and finally adopted these. These aren't irrelevant. You need to know what's in here. And we feel as if, and I'm speaking for the broader community, we don't know, you don't know, we don't know. The town doesn't seem to be led by people who know what they're doing. Frankly, I would be totally embarrassed. I'm the sort of person who gets embarrassed easily. And if I'm caught being corrected, it makes me feel bad. But I watch and I hear what people are saying and asserting, and I think, what is going on here? So I saw the memo that the chairman, Mr. Vernaglia, wrote, and he's got in there that you'll vote on your special permit, and then you're going to have some meeting to discuss materials. That's just backwards. You don't do that. You nail down your materials. It is a possibility that materials won't be available once they're permitted, and then you have to come back. And I would have some legal type recommendations for you that if the materials cannot be provided, then they must be, and that should be in your agreement finally before you vote, but that your condition that they will return to this board and to your design review committee and possibly your peer reviewer in order to before you permit. Because it'll be if that happens after the permitting, because materials sometimes are unavailable. That's reality. You're supposed to have a model. You're supposed to have a sample set up even before you vote. That's according to your own laws, the laws of this planning board, and yet you're ignoring them. That's why we read these things. They're supposed to be a model. It's not like discretionary. They're supposed to be a model. But anyway, I will what I'd like to bring to you and bring to your attention is just at the very beginning, and this is for your planned unit development overlay district. You're calling this a planned unit development. I don't see it, but you're letting in this extra 21 feet because you're calling this a planned unit development. Well, if you're going to allow that, then let's at least read, however, it must be understood that additional building area and height beyond the as-of-right level up to the maximum allowable through a planned unit development permit or zoning relief through a special permit must fully embrace the town center design standards, and that's this document, and project impact findings. Where's the physical model that is required? It says required. Where's your sample mock-up of your the materials? They should be here by now. They can present them. Where are the materials? Just every step of the way. It feels as if it's not just feels as if it's clear that this board really needs some expert counsel. You need expert design expertise in the terms of the 53G, bring them to the table and start having them discuss with the developer what's in here, and then your planner you would like to have present to you exactly what are all the waivers. That should be done now, not like yesterday, like a couple months ago. What are all the waivers of all the regulations and all the zoning bylaw that you're going to need? I don't expect you to know it all, but I do expect you to know what your limits are, and then to have your planner advise you that you're going to need expertise for a project that's this impactful. So it's frustrating because I too spent years on behalf of this town, and I feel as if it's just fallen apart, and it's really frustrating. It feels more than frustrating. It's the respect for the law. You're bound to respect the law. You have all sworn, as I've done with the town clerk, that you will uphold the laws of the town, and I'm not seeing it. You're just disregarding what you see here, the musts and the shalls, and you're just deciding, your finger in the air, and it's like, oh, well, we'll just let that extra 21 feet go forward. But that's not just the extra 21 feet. It's what's your rationale? What else are you supposed to be doing to get to that point? And I think it's time for this board to have a discussion about what is the expertise we need. I've spoken before about humility, and I assure you, when I was on the board, and we had people with degrees in architecture, I'm architectural history, but we were people with an expertise in what we were doing, and even then, we understood we couldn't put in the sheer number of hours that it would take for an outside person to actually study and work with the plans as they're submitted. And by the way, the zoning board is hiring outside expertise, and it's surprising. It was once the zoning board that would have been permitting all this, and it was turned over to the planning board with the idea that our elected officials would be doing a job in response to the citizens, whereas the zoning board was appointed. But you've been elected, and I'm sorry to say this, every single one of you, and you haven't faced a competitive race. So really, it's a very sad state of affairs in this local democratic process where people aren't even interested in serving. So here we are with developers coming to the table saying, I love this, move it forward, and then the developers, friends and family. Well, I'm just an ordinary citizen, and I am a basic citizen, as somebody said, and I ask for you to just go back and consider how you're going to start moving through the zoning and the guidelines for the, well, it's called guidelines, these are regulations, the regulations for the Center Business District. We need to do the right thing by the town and by the laws that are supposed to govern the town, the development in the CBD. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Additional comments?
That's another point for the 53G that we should keep on the back burner.
Yes.
And get the advice that we need.
Come on up. Is there anybody else who's going to want to give public comment? Seeing none, this will be the last public comment because we do have a hard stop and we have a lot of other things we want to get to after the public comment. So thank you very much.
Hi.
My wife. You're welcome to.
So we're not only resident of Winchester. My name is Evelyn.
Nabil Ibrahim.
And Nabil.
Yeah.
But my husband is also a dentist who has been in that building for 25 years. Listening to all of this, and I really thank the person who was here right before me, because we have been in limbo for 7 years, 2018, and we're turning to 2026. And it is all right to ask ourselves, does the board really know what they're doing? Because for some weird reason, these things has been going on and on and on, and the issues is always the same. And it is this height, and it is how big it is. I understand even a young person who says, yes, we want affordable housing. How much is it going to cost? Who is going to be even able to afford anything downtown? So that, for me, it makes no sense. I mean, the affordable housing should be more on the outskirts, maybe. Parking? For people like us who drive there every day and who have their staff who has to park there, and who spend their day in the downtown, parking is horrible. It's become worse and worse. Our patients complain, even though we have the parking in the back right now. A lot of times it's full. I worry about the businesses. I worry about China Sky, Bow Wow, all these little businesses. The parking is full at night. It's rented to China Sky, and it's full. And it's full the moment if I'm out at 6 o'clock late, I have people waiting for my parking spot. I don't see any. So then the last thing, and I don't know if any of you have really been inside that building, up and down, and visited that building. What's down in the basement? He can tell you.
We have a big room. It's full of servers. So if you guys want to put the antenna, where are
all these servers going to go? I don't think that's been discussed. Like, clearly the antennas have not been discussed. There's Comcast, there's Verizon. Yes, I'm the first one to say that there could be something much nicer looking. We bought into the practice, and that's where the practice was. Certainly, as a resident, I can say we could do something much nicer, but I feel like we're stumbling against the same thing over and over and over again. And to make things worse, my husband is close to retirement, and we have had no lease. He can't sell his business. And all we want is a decision. Sorry. I mean, it's really hard to understand why, when this was sold in 2018, I never would have thought that in 2026, we would still be here. And obviously now we're looking to move. At the age of 64, it's not, it's not an easy decision.
Very expensive.
But it's extremely expensive, and we hope that if you end up getting the building, that you'll work with us, because
give me some time,
because there's 2 dentists in that building, so
there are 8 businesses.
We've been searching. We have places, we have contractors, we have everybody's lined up, but it's not what we would want to do, to be honest. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I appreciate all the public comment in addition to all the written public comment we received. It's the vast majority of it, if not all of it, is available online, so you can see what people have written in. It's also there, so you don't have to just come here. And if you have additional written comment you'd like to send, you can send it to planningboard@winchester.us. We all receive it. The town planner receives it, and it will go on file. So with that, public comment is closed. And I would like to invite the applicants over to the table. I decide how many of you want to be here. I'm going to start with a question, but I'm going to let you then go, which is, my question for you is, have you guys had a chance to, I saw what you submitted to us. I'm going to let you go on your own, but have you had a chance to respond to the 6 points that we put forward for you to consider? And I will let you know that you gave us some information. It came pretty late for us to be able to actually incorporate it into our thinking process for tonight. So what you present to us might be really the first time we've looked at it, if there's any changes. So it's new to us.
Perfect. Thank you for having us this evening. I'm Paul Onyubani from Urban Spaces. My colleagues Dave Notter and David Tavenkin, Urban Spaces and Haseen, respectively. So we really appreciate being here. Obviously, what we witnessed tonight is, I think, terrific. It's, democracy in action, and we're constantly trying to take what we hear to heart from both sides of the equation and really just build the best building we can here. We do recognize that it's not perfect, and there's obviously a lot of people who wish it wasn't as tall as it is, but we will do our best to ensure that what one person said, this notion that once permitted, no further opportunity to weigh in. I just want to reassure everyone that that's just not going to be the case. There will continually, it will be written into the decision. We will not get a building permit before we settle on the idea that it's as good as it can be. Will people still not like it? Of course, some people won't, but hopefully more people will like it and can move forward with the project. But I assure you that we are committed to making this the best building we can. It's important to the community. We're guests in the community, and we want to be good stewards of the property. With that in mind, I also think it's fair to note that our understanding is that the issue of height has been settled. While there is still concern, and we can address the concern through design review, materiality, et cetera, we are not so sure it would be the most productive comment for us to discuss the merits or not of the height, because it's settled and approved. So the building is 33 feet less wide than it was before. It's 2/3 of the distance. The horizontal distance has been, at one point, the most important topic at hand. That's why the Conservation Commission had to reject the project. So we shortened the building up by 33 feet, and that created 33 feet more of green space. Beautiful opportunity for the community to sort of interface with the waterfront. We're committed to that, and we're making what is really private land publicly accessible. And in addition, we're ensuring that the commercial spaces, both on the converse, I should say on the Mount Vernon side and on the waterfront side, will also interface with that space and be really great. We were really pleased to know that, as the project moves forward, there were some business owners in town that have already approached us. They want to be in the space. And, there's always two sides to every coin. Some will be in favor and some will be against. But on balance, I think we're going to make this project a beautiful addition to the town, and hopefully people will experience the waterfront in a much better and different way. In terms of the current aesthetics, one member of the community said in a public hearing that it's the ugliest building in all of Winchester. That will be no longer. Maybe this won't be your favorite building, maybe it will be, but it certainly can't get worse than is there today, according to that one resident. In terms of the antenna, that is in large part, as people noted, one of the reasons why it's so unappealing and unattractive. We want to again discuss that we have been in conversations with the 3 telecoms that are there, and the technology has changed. A lot of what's on the building isn't even active or necessary anymore. So a lot of what will be providing a very valuable and important public service to the community will be screened and hidden. In terms of the server rooms, they're going to be inside the building, not on top of the building. So these things, there's a progression to how we move forward, and that's one of the items that will be addressed next. But we're in discussions with these antenna providers to ensure that the town goes without interrupted service, and that it also doesn't make the situation worse. Rather, it's going to make it much better. So, in terms of the zoning bylaw and things, the bylaw, of course, does provide for this density. There was town meeting, as we understand, years ago that voted in favor of it. It might not be all the folks, of course, in the room. Maybe those were people that voted against it at the time. But the bylaw provides for height, unlimited height. Now, obviously, there's a rational amount that's stopped. Now, why do we choose 6 stories? 6 stories is the highest building you can build without going into the high-rise code, where buildings become untenable until you get out of no man's land for the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th floor, into double-digit floors. So we didn't feel that was appropriate here. We didn't ask for that. We, of course, are asking for 7 feet more, and some people don't feel that's appropriate either. But it is allowed, and it's been voted on, and it's been settled. So the alternative, just so everyone appreciates, there's a lot of discussion about the 40B. We're not 40B developers. We've never done one, really have no interest in doing one. We like to do projects that we can be proud of, and oftentimes 40Bs you could be proud of. But in this location, for this project, the alternative to our development really is a 40B, and that's what we understand from all the sources that we know, and that project would truly have no local control, gone. So unlimited height, no materiality, no discussions about how to make the building better. That just doesn't happen in a 40B. That's just the way it is. And for anyone that thinks otherwise, we can sort of demonstrate that offline with some really onerous case studies about how 40Bs go awry. That's why people threaten with them, because they know they're so bad. We're not threatening with that. We don't have no involvement with that. But it is something that needed to be addressed, because concerns about height, architectural context, materiality, all those things, parking, all those things go away in a 40B. You lose total control, and that's a fact. So in terms of the other matters that we could address, some people wanted to know what the fiscal impacts would be. Well, we haven't settled yet on the pricing with the state, but the general bylaw, or general guideline, I should say, for a 1-bedroom is that it's around $319,000. A 2-bedroom, around $359,000.
You're referring to affordable units.
For the 80% AMI units, yes. And these might even be 90% AMI units, as I say it out loud. So they'll be even a little more affordable, I think. $399,000 for a 3-bedroom. So just to give you a sense, those are in the 300s, right? The average home in Winchester, I think we cited last time, and I just can't recall, I think is in the $1.2 or $1.4 million range. So obviously, a very affordable alternative to living in an otherwise average home in Winchester. In terms of the other financial contributions, we forecast, Jack actually asked us to do this study some time ago, based on a sort of a guesstimate about what the building might, a typical unit might be worth and so on. We have about $250,000 of transfer taxes, some of which make their way back to the town. We anticipate over $500,000 of tax revenue, and if you forecast that out over 10 years with some sort of typical increases of 3%, that puts us to almost $7 million of new tax revenue to the town. So there's some real benefits there. In addition, of course, is making a public policy initiative on the a private sector goal, that is the affordable housing. Those 4 affordable units are, the differential is in the millions of dollars of private subsidy that we'd be providing in order to provide affordable housing. The diversity of housing, again, I think the matter is settled, but it's worth noting that diversity means more than just affordability. We are offering all sorts of housing for all sorts of people, some of which is very affordable, some of which is average, and some of which may be higher than average. But on balance, it's offering an opportunity for people who want to live downtown. There's no such real condominium opportunities readily available, units here and there. There's people who are empty nesters who might want to sell their homes, and we talked about the cycle of housing. That makes way for younger families to be able to come in who otherwise would be locked out of Winchester because the other families are just not moving. So this gives opportunity for that. The units will be handicap accessible in some cases, handicap convertible in others, all sorts of different types of housing for different types of people. We've heard from people who are single. We've heard from people who are divorced. We've heard from people who are widowed. We've heard from people who are married, starting families, people with grandkids who are sort of, on their final chapter of families. So it's a real diverse group of housing that we're going to be providing here. So with that in mind, we wanted to just, also one more note was the construction logistics. It is a tight site, but it's not that tight. We are used to working where there's no boundaries, infilling projects on either side. So we will ensure that, and we've already met with the fire department and we'll be meeting with ISB. We'll have a construction logistics plan that is signed off on by the town before a shovel goes to the ground. But again, we're ready for this. It's not actually that big of a challenge, and we are ready for it. So moreover, we just wanted to reassure the community that although this is not for everyone, it is in some cases for everyone, we will ensure that we continue this dialogue. It's not out of sequence. It's very typical because what happens is once we get an approval, like we got last meeting, and hopefully we can get a special permit approval next meeting, then we can really go to work. Right now we're totally at risk, and so there's only so much work you can do. But once we are out of those woods, we'll then really start the discussions of the nuts and bolts about how can we fix the 5th and 6th floor? What can we do to address some of the detractors' concerns? What can we do to enhance some of the people who are in favor? So we just wanted to give our assurance to that and be available to answer any other questions you might have tonight.
Thank you. I have one question I have many questions, but the first question was brought up by the chair of the Housing Partnership Board, which is housing prices in the non-affordable units. Do you have an estimate for those? Can you put that down into paper so that they can have, if that's something you have readily available, so that they can have that to discuss at their meeting tomorrow night, because they're going to be making potentially a recommendation tomorrow night, and it sounds like that was a crucial piece of information that they do not have that they need before they can give their recommendation to us.
Sure. So we have the approximations of the affordable units. As we gave the $300,000 range. Now, the market rate units, not really certain why the Affordable Housing Partnership delves into those figures, but
they're just the Housing Partnership Board.
Just the Housing Partnership?
Just the Housing Partnership Board, not affordable housing. So
okay.
They're all housing.
All housing? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I understand now. Thank you. No, that's good. But our guesstimate is, obviously the market changes. What is the market today? What will it be like in 2 years from now? But if, I would think, just to give an off-the-cuff, don't hold us to it kind of number, based on our one-bedroom range of units from 880 to 1,250 square feet, you might say those would be in the, let's say the 800,000, 600,000, 800,000 plus range. Two-bedroom units, 1,340 to 1,790 square feet, those might be more like an average home in Winchester, maybe topping the $1 million mark. And then the 3 bedrooms, 1,450 to 2,210 square feet, probably in the mid to high $1 million range. So basically, we're talking about beautiful new construction in the center of downtown Winchester. It's costly to build, and it's and the market rate housing will be somewhat costly to live in, as is all of Winchester.
I realize it's short notice. You could put that quickly into some sort of writing for him for tomorrow.
Yes.
So that he can have that. It may or may not be what they need, but I just don't want that. I don't want to have that step on the critical path be one that if they don't meet, if they can't get what they need tomorrow and they have to wait another month, that's another month until we have sort of what they can give to us. So.
Absolutely. Give John a call.
Thank you very much.
To be
Thank
clear,
you very much. I
that
can hear
won't
you.
be enough for our deliberation, but that's something for him to take to EOHLC for preliminary discussions. But we will need interior detail on these units. We'll need someone to look at the likely revenue and get an estimate on the taxes and all the impact on utilities, all that stuff.
Just to clarify, when you say you need interior, obviously we can tell you we have a unit of this type of this size that's on the drawings now. We don't have drawings, and we won't for 6 months of what is inside that box.
So there won't be a good way for us to assess whether or not one of the selling points of this project, which is that this will be ADA accessible for people aging in place, can be met, because we won't know doorway widths, we won't know bathroom sizes.
You actually can. We will be building to a standard that is called public accommodation. So these are condominiums, not apartments. They have different standards. And you can know tonight that we will be building to the standard that the units can be, you have to, be converted for anyone needing handicap requirements.
Okay, we'll discuss that as a board. Thank you.
So do we have, size of units, numbers of units, and approximate price of each unit according to the zoning bylaw 7/3/16/14 housing plan? I mean,
you have the first two things you said. Now you have the third, but we can formalize that in a memo. We gave you the range of units, and I understand that it just came today, and we gave you the unit count, and we can give you a more closer look at what the approximate market values might be today based on some broker's opinion, based on a broker's opinion of value. So we can accommodate all that.
Thank you.
And for Carrie's concerns, yes, we can accommodate the, an assessor doesn't need to know where the kitchen is and where the bathroom is, right? But the assessor.
Well, thinking just back to 9/11 Main, we had a very helpful discussion where we pointed out which unit would be, I believe, an affordable unit, and Brian made a good observation that that one was really remote from the elevator shaft. I mean, we do think through the interior of the building in terms of accessibility.
But not interior of the unit. So we've given you a diagram that highlights, and John noted, where the affordable units would be on the interior of each floor plan. But beyond that, to delve, what I thought you said, and I'm sorry if I misunderstood, was that you wanted to know the interior of the unit. Where's the bathroom, where's the kitchen, where's the bedroom? That we really won't know until these designs are much further along. But is that adequate, the knowing where the affordable units are as proposed?
And the applicable ADA code, which will give you doorway swings, turn radiuses, all the requirements.
We'll hash out as a board what we need to make the decision, but
okay. We just want to ensure, obviously, that we meet whatever you need for the next meeting. As our Dr. Dennis friend said, everybody's in limbo.
I liked the suggestion that we send a set of the plans to Disability Access and get their thoughts on it. I think that's really important.
I'd like to be doing that with every project moving forward, actually.
We do. We did get this sort of late, so I've not totally digested this.
Yeah, we did get feedback, and thus we had the ground floor entry.
If we can speak to the concern, because if folks are still here, you're pointing out what I think we all can intuitively understand, which is the fact that that technology has progressed considerably, and we no longer have computers that take up an entire room, and I assume the mechanicals will be smaller. You represent space in the basement here that I'm on the wrong page, but the storage for it, it's completely contained in there. Whatever they see in the basement of the building now is shrunk down to the space that you represent in these drawings.
It will be within the envelope of the building. It will likely be in the basement. It could be located in a mechanical room within the building, but it will not be above the building.
Okay.
So all of the equipment and those spaces that those telecom tenants have within that building existing, a lot of those spaces are much larger than they need to be, and that's because that's how it was partitioned, and that's how the previous owners had dealt that space out to those telecom providers.
Okay, great. I'm sure
we're getting the requirements directly from the telecom providers, and the architect is incorporating that within the envelope of the building.
Okay, great. I'm sure people are happy to hear that. How do you want to spend the half hour?
So I want to go. So we did approve height and FAR, and it was conditional on 6 things. I want to walk through those because I think you've agreed to many of them, but I don't want to speak for you. I want you to say that you've agreed to them. So the first, seemingly, you've agreed to have 4 affordable and 2 workforce units. I know there was an issue with parking. As far as I'm going to say this, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be contingent on the EOHLC saying that those units are acceptable. If they say to you they have to have parking at a reduced rate, then that'll be required of you to do that.
That's correct, of course. We have, as you can see, I hope, the way John noted, that we sort of hit the mark, it sounds like, in his opinion, on the way we laid these units out. We have a lot of experience selecting affordable units. We try to get it right the first time because we don't want to be in an endless debate back and forth. Some people have a different style when they do that. They try to go back and forth to get to the middle. We like to go right to the point, and I hope, and it sounds like maybe we did. We also have a lot of experience with the housing department by a different name until recently, and we also have legal opinion on section 6.2.5 regarding how the parking works, and we'll ensure that we come to consensus or we can't move forward.
Fair enough. Any questions on that first point? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
May I just note, there was some discussion that you may want to have here or may not, the notion of swapping the 80% affordable units and the 220% so-called affordable workforce units, perhaps moving to 80% units. We would also be amenable to that. We want to get to yes, as we've said, and so whichever is your preference, we are committing to what you asked us to last time, the 4 and the 2, and if you'd like to change that, we'd also be amenable to the 5 and 0.
So that was a thought I had that I discussed with the town planner, and I could see advantages to the town to having 5 affordable units instead of 4 and 2. I could see disadvantages to it. I was, when I spoke to the town planner, I was sort of wondering, is this something that makes the project more appealing to you to have 5 affordable instead of 4 and 2? Or is it 6 and one half dozen the other? Because actually, me personally, and I haven't talked to the rest of the board about this, I see them as a sort of equal ground. On one case, we get an additional 1 on our SHI, but we lose out on 1 on the extra unit that's that. So I don't know if you have an opinion on if 1 is better for you, and I don't know if the board does.
From our perspective, we're more or less neutral. It's a little bit more favorable because the price of a workforce unit is just marginally more than let's call it 120% is obviously is a little more than 80%, but not as much as a market. So if we had our druthers, sure, we'd probably go with 5, and if that's something, but again, we'll do whatever the board wants.
Okay. Any opinion on the board on that issue?
Maybe a little tangential to that. Now that we know the 6th story is kind of because the 7th story was too big of an ask because of the logistical hurdles of meeting the criteria for 7 and up. I wonder if there's anything. So I'm a little branched off from the board here in that I don't know if our affordable housing battle is best fought in this building, and I think you're going to keep swimming uphill against the 6th story, and we have technically allowed the height, but we do still have to get through site plan review and special permitting. We have to justify to the National Historic Register why we're changing the landscape of a town that's made it onto the National Historic Register. We have to approve the materials. We have to approve. We have many steps before we are truly signing off on the height of this building. And so is there any shift in the economics of this building that would allow you to let go of what is 3 units at that top? I mean, the sacrifice and the work that's going to go into this. Is there, if it were 3 affordable units and no workforce unit, is there a number that gets rid of the 6th floor?
So the 6th floor is 5,000 square feet, right? Which is about 10% of the building livable area, I suppose. Is there some combination that gets rid of it? Sure. But given the construct that we've been in today, which is 4 and 2 or 5 and 0 affordable units, and everything else that we've discussed, there's not. If that was something that we all wanted to, consider those trade-offs, that obviously, right, development is about trade-offs. We could explore that together. This is where finances come into play. So we could analyze the cost of the 6th floor and the revenue potential for the sixth floor versus a reduction in the cost of the subsidy or in tax credits or any number of options that the municipality may have available to it. We're open.
I would personally like to know the break point where the sixth floor goes away. I mean, I think the town would need to know that to get to okay with the sixth floor with one affordable unit above our requirement, or it's a significant sacrifice to the landscape of the town for a problem that with the new zoning could probably.
Sure, we'll do that analysis.
Play into the crowd, huh?
She speaks truth.
So there were, so what we hear, barring any additional analysis that might be done regarding a reduction, that you've agreed to 4 and 2?
Yes.
Barring. So that was one of the conditions that we put on having the height. Second condition was to work with you prior to the building permit to look on the materiality and colors, content, the exterior and makeup of the 5th and 6th floor. I believe you agreed to that on the 18th. Can you speak to that? Again, I want to work because we agreed to the height FAR waiver.
I had a related question too about the, that any change in materials. I'm not sure if we formally agree, but any change in materials shall return to the planning board after the special permit is granted. So if there are any changes, it would go back to the planning board for approval, and not just the building commissioner. We'd be able to approve if there are materials changes. That's important, and it would warrant coming back to us. And at that point, the DRC or a 52 expert would opine and advise us, I think, on that.
Sure.
As part of this condition. I mean,
right. And of course, the DRC has already approved the design, so they must like it on balance. But we have a world-class architectural firm that we're working with, and they are very talented. I think most people have recognized that, and we can work together. They are willing to be flexible, and so are we, to ensure that we get a good outcome. The only thing I would ask is if we could put a timeline on that process, because subjective matters like materials could go on forever. Sure. And we maybe could say, at some point, pencils down after 30 days of review or something reasonable. Whatever you think is, obviously it's up, you have to decide and deliberate what reasonable might mean. But I think that would hopefully be a fair ask. We'll do whatever you ask if we can accommodate. And maybe we could just ask that you do it in a defined time frame.
Okay. Agreed. I don't think any of these conditions that we put were designed to be some way to trip you up after the fact, because that would just be, pardon my French, a shitty thing to do. The goal is to get to something that's good for the town. The third, which I was pleased to see on your diagram, was at least a first stab at what would be open space would be available for the public. I appreciate that. That was on, actually, could we go to that page? Because I think that's useful. It would be page, I don't know what page it is, page 2 of this, but I don't know where it is in that. It's this one right here. It's sort of a first draft of what that, this one. No, it's not that one. Maybe the previous page? No, it must be for.
That was it. Yeah.
No, you know what it is? It's in the it's in the original package from Haseen, not in this submission here. It's not in the 200-page submission.
December 16th package.
I think it's in the end of it. I think it is in this.
Oh, thank you. It's page 160.
Page 160.
Ian's got it.
Yes. So I appreciated that, because that was a specific ask to not just say in words, but to actually have a first draft of what it would look like. And obviously the devil's in the details as far as how we memorialize this, or something like this, whatever we agree upon. But I appreciated that. So it sounds like we at least have agreement that there will be a certain area of space that's open for public use, certain areas of space that are for the storefronts, and then certain area of space that's obviously immediately outside the doors of the units, which makes sense that you don't want someone with a lawn chair right in front of their door. Exactly. So
Yes.
I wonder if we can get this staked out. We used to do that all the time for the Conservation Commission, where we would just have like the building will be here. I mean, at the 20 feet is hard for me to get my head around like where that will be. I know it's a pain and it's hard even the first time you look at them when you're in front of them to understand, but I'm really struggling to understand how we're going to make this handshake work successfully. And I think getting their heads around how much land we're even working with would be really helpful.
Absolutely.
It can be pretty like literally the yellow stakes are building, the green stakes are, you know, whatever, but.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to note that those commercial areas, you know, really are public use areas also, right? It's just
like
a
hardscape.
business that's going to be running there, and so they need some control over it.
Yeah, and
I love a site visit, being of Concom, but we could do it independently, or you could walk us through and say, here it is, and we can throw it on the website or something.
We'd be delighted to.
no, and I
Sorry
appreciate
to
very
mention
much.
this in January.
No, I appreciate very much that the commercial
It's gonna be
spaces
60 this week.
are also public in the sense, but understanding the difference between public when you're at that establishment and public when you just want to go and sit down because it's a nice day and it's sunny.
Right.
There's a subtle difference.
Right. If we're at the French Provisions Cafe on the bottom there, then they're going to, of course, want to have the tables and chairs for their patrons.
Yeah.
But certainly that doesn't mean you can't kind of, you know, spill right over and sit, you know, and enjoy the rest of the green space.
So this sounds like something that somewhat the devil's in the details as far as exactly how we memorialize this in the homeowner's documents or whatever we do. But it sounds like there's a general agreement.
Yeah, and I think what may be helpful is that those distances can be measurable from the building too. So they're quantifiable and they are based off of benchmarks that aren't going to move because the building's not going to move. Yeah. And that's how we would handle that in the documents on the condominium side, but then of course
I like maps.
how we could
I'm visual.
And that's why we, like Dave was saying, that's why we did it. There are natural boundaries, the path along the bottom or the sidewalk along the top, and then 20 feet off on the side, et cetera.
And then obviously this is highlighting our property specifically, but that green area does not end at that where the gray begins, right? So
that's still town property.
Exactly.
That is still green. So
somebody could walk across that and they wouldn't see in real life. And to your point, Carrie, if you see it staked out, you'll actually get a better feel for that open space.
I think that's very helpful. So that was the third condition. The fourth condition was, I think you already agreed to it, that the open space be maintained by the development so that this, this is not going to be something we have to start cutting the lawn, even though we're asking a lot. We're asking for you to let us to use it like a public park, but we're asking for you to maintain it. And that sounds like something you already had agreed to before.
Since we have since placed our new council, I would also like to mention that this needs to be, we need a legal structure on this that we all agree on. So 100%. This is a ... This is definitely not a period.
We're agreeing to what, in principle, not the vehicle of how this will work.
Yes.
And as a courtesy to give a heads up, you know, kind of on items as early as possible, one of the suggestions that came from our I never remember her title, Conservation Administrator Elaine Vreeland, who I'm sure you know well at this point, was that we put a covenant on the open space, which we've done with a couple of other properties in town. In addition to whatever use restrictions we put on the deed, the covenant creates the intention that the land will always remain open space. So it will sort of transcend owners.
I'm not sure of the legal mechanism. Maybe it's a covenant, maybe it's something else, but I know a good attorney.
Yeah, so that's why I'm floating it early, because if I don't know, it's the holidays, people get busy.
Yes, we'll make sure
that was just her suggestion. That's not, I don't know.
Okay, that's a good idea. And maybe we can make contact with legal counsel to get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah.
Probably an MOU of some kind.
Yeah. We have brand new legal counsel as of December 1.
That's exciting.
Yes. So the fifth condition was something that I know we had talked about and you weren't thrilled with, but to require that the commercial space on Mill Pond on the southern side be, I'll just use the word eating establishment. There's several different things that it could be called, a restaurant, a cafe, whatever. And I know we talked about this, and I know you I won't use the word push back, but you said you could do some exclusions, and I pushed back and I said, but we can always come up with something that we haven't thought of that we still don't want there as a town. So have you had a chance to think about that, how we could make this work? I have, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yes. So we hate to not just say yes to everything, but in this case, we need to ensure that this project is successful. If the backspace goes empty, no one's going to be happy. And we're not 100% sure that an eating establishment will be the only solution there. Now, the good news is it looks promising. Our friends who we just recently met at Nouvelle Maison have talked about, and they said we could say this publicly, a new bistro concept where they are excited to explore this particular space. And we would be excited to have them because I think from a vision perspective, it's exactly what we all probably envision and would like. Now, that's great if it works, but if it doesn't, maybe it's something else. But if we ham ourselves in to just being an eating establishment and we don't find one, the market doesn't like what we did here tonight, then it's just going to be empty, and then that's not good for the town, it's not good for us. So if we can accommodate by saying we understand the spirit of this agreement and we want the building to be successful too, and we think that's a way the building will be successful, we'll try our best, and maybe we'll get someone, maybe we'll even have it before shovels come in the ground. But I am cautious to ham ourselves into a promise that we might not want to keep.
I'll be blunt. I think this is important because I think that what we could get there otherwise would not activate this area, would result in a medical office there, which would be lovely, but it wouldn't activate the area. It wouldn't activate. It
wouldn't be lovely.
Lovely for the people who wanted to go there to get taken care of. I have nothing against dentists or doctors, but it wouldn't be what we're looking for. And I know we talked about exclusions. So the couple of thoughts I had were, first of all, it could be excluded to be only an eating establishment with the understanding that if you can't get someone, you come back and say we can't get someone. We don't want it to sit empty either. I mean, that doesn't help Winchester if that spot sits empty. So the option would be that you come back and say, we spent a year, we didn't find anybody, we need to rent this out, and then we'd have to revise it. Alternatively, a thought was there might be other things that we haven't thought of that would be great there, and maybe they just come before the board and you say you would mention some things, just something that would. And maybe it works, and we say, yeah, that really activates the area, or maybe we say, no, it doesn't. So I'd like you to continue thinking about how we can make this work, because I think this is important. Everybody I've talked to about this building, those who don't like the height, those who think it's too big, those who think it's okay, those who don't think it's too big, everyone, without exception, has said the idea of an eating establishment right on the water right there is appealing. Yes. And I spoke at least to one person who said, I hate the height, I hate the building, but I would love to have a restaurant right there. So, we're just trying to win over with the couple of people who might.
I think that it's an important point, and I do think that our desires are aligned, both the project and the towns and the community, because that commercial space, if it amenitizes the building and amenitizes the downtown, it helps everybody, right? It adds more value. So, we don't have any interest in putting a mattress store in that area, right? Like or whatever.
That's one I hadn't thought of. I wouldn't have excluded a mattress store.
We can put that as an exclusion.
Well, that'd be a nice place to lay
one of the
down,
ones
try
that is too easy to do, and
that's an idea.
Sometimes when people aren't thoughtful about the use of that commercial space, they take that low-hanging fruit, and that's not amenitizing the building. It's not adding anything to the project. It's not anything to the community.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Selling that?
I hope there's no mattress store.
Would you put banks in that category or real estate offices?
So
all the people that force out the smaller places that you actually want.
Other uses could, but so that's what I would say.
I think, so to answer John's question.
Which was, could you repeat your question? Or you could just read.
Going to be, you're going to sell the commercial space or be a landlord?
These are condominiums, so right. So generally, we sell. The goal is to sell every condominium, the retail or the residential. The reality of retail is, as you may know, as you certainly know, it's difficult. The landscape is challenging. We can't sometimes get retail tenants in places that have 50 times the foot traffic that this will have, and so they sit vacant. And we sometimes will figure out ways to be creative and we'll subsidize the retail to keep it open, and we'll keep ownership of it until we can find time to sell it. So case in point, in Porter Square in Cambridge, we couldn't sort of sell it, so we finally found a daycare center, for example, that has, it's very active, it's kids, and maybe that's something that is excluded here, maybe it's something people would like if we can't get the restaurant. But I would say that the best way to handle this is, and we can tell you a horror story when you don't do it this way, would be to create a list of exclusions as opposed to inclusions, and and try to go it that way. Because once there's a story, folklore in Cambridge where we agreed to a yarn shop. Well, that sounded great. That's what everybody wanted. We got a yarn shop, and the place has been vacant for 30 years. So, because the yarn shops can't afford rent, it turns out. They're a dying breed. So, what we do here today has to stand the test of time, and that's why only reason we're pushing back is because we want the same thing. It's probably the best tenant, but if they don't come along, what do you do? So, you got to be hedge our bets, right?
Okay.
But we could brainstorm some ideas and run it by you and see if the board likes the language.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, one interest from that came up in State of the Town is that we under-leverage adult education opportunities, and I could see that being an okay education space that would activate the town as well. So I'm not as locked into you must, and this could be the celiac talking, but I'm not as locked into you must eat here. But I'm 1,000,000% in line with you on everything else. I'm just.
I just worry that if we just do an exclusion,
I want it to be brunch or tacos.
If you put in tacos, you might get another vote.
And I'd love to do the easy thing and just say yes.
I think it's the brunch spot.
But
I think the tacos are
it's going to come back to bite us if we just say yes.
Okay. And then the last issue that I know was a sore topic, but I'm going to bring it back up because it was a sick thing, was a mutually agreed upon amount to be paid by the homeowner association for maintenance in the continued maintenance of the mill pond. Spent some time looking at this, how this could work. Could go directly to the town. The town could then allocate it to the Conservation Commission. It could go directly into a fund that the Conservation Commission has for maintaining the water front right along there. This is, as I think I said in the last meeting, this is the only commercial space directly on Mill Pond. And unlike something that's across the street, they get a great deal of benefit from that being maintained and not being allowed to grow wild. And so I know you were hesitant, would be putting it nicely, to do that. And I'm wondering if there is a way to make it so that you are less hesitant, the vehicle being to the town instead of to the Conservation Commission, some other way that then could go to the, to do the same work either way. It was one of the conditions to come up with a way to get this to work. So I open that back up to you. Yes. I know you're not happy about it, but that doesn't. I'm not here to make you happy.
Right. No, we thought a lot about it, and we think we have a creative idea. Well, first and foremost, any funds that went in, we would just want to ensure that they're actually spent to do the work in a sort of cost-effective way. Sometimes municipalities have certain rules and restrictions. They have to use very high-priced vendors or vendors that think they can be very high-priced because they're dealing with the municipality. So if we could come up with a way that maximizes the value of the contribution, and ensures that the work gets done. I gave my own town an easement to put in a rain garden on my property. And I said, please make sure you maintain it though, right? And you'll maintain it, right? And we signed an agreement. And I have to do the landscaping on it every 3 months. So we want to make sure that both sides keep the commitments. And what if we kind of aligned our interests and gave 5% of the gross rent on the back retail space to the fund? And that way everybody's aligned, because it beautifies, it's financial incentive to make sure the space is looking great and improve the rent of the space itself, etc. So we thought that might be a creative way to get what you need. And now, of course, if the place is sold, we'd have to assign a shadow rent and make a contribution that way.
There's no way we can decide that tonight. We need hard numbers around it. We need a fund mechanism.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
It makes sense because it's the commercial space that's going to benefit from that mostly.
Because we're talking about maintenance along that riverfront that adjacent to the property.
Yeah,
We also
the mill pond.
getting rid of the invasive
just that area
species.
there, yes.
So the funds would
Planning
go
board
to
now has a
maintain
streetscape
from the
fund.
bridge around to the waterfall. Is that right?
Yeah.
On the 10 Converse side.
Right.
Well, the mill pond is just that one small spot in there that goes from,
the planning board as part of the state, I don't know where to land, but the planning board as part of the state of the town process will have a streetscape fund, and it's for things like this, where we interact with properties on public-private land and need to do work maintaining or adding benches or planting trees or whatever. So we may have an internal
We're not talking
mechanism
about
for
the
it.
other side of the pond. We're just talking about the side that the Converse Place and the river is on. I mean, that this building would be on, correct?
I don't know.
I mean, you wrote that. So
So the other side,
Well,
so for
I think
continuity.
that's hard to distinguish when you hire a contractor to go out and do work and you tell them to pull up invasive species to partition, say, well, the 5K from us is only
if
going
it's
to this.
helpful, the other side of the pond is maintained
Yes.
by a multi-year
I know.
contract with a company called Parterre.
Yeah.
But the money goes to DPW. DPW negotiates the contract.
What I'm saying is if the money goes to DPW, how to partition that money and say, well, this
Right.
$5,000 is only going to this, but they're buying a contract for,
Well,
doing everything with some town money and some money that comes from them.
Well,
It just-
because of the flux this property has been in, they have not worked on this side of the pond.
Yeah.
And so
It's
that
been
could be
untouched
how
for a
we,
long time.
so we could sort of, that would be a natural break.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is, but I think it's just complicated if the money's
bifurcate the
going
contract.
into a pool of money that's used to maintain
Side is it
the
west?
shoreline around that, how we would say it's going to this side, but not to that side, would just be complicated. Right. Because it wouldn't be its own fund just for this one shoreline. It would be, you know what I mean?
Well, I think it could be, though, because
could be.
he doesn't work there currently, so we would
So
say,
we
give
had
us a
talked to
scope of work for this.
We had talked to Parterre, and they could define the scope as that, whatever it is that you want defined, and have contract number XYZ, and then the other side is contract number ABC.
It could also be that, it's a pain to negotiate, but it could be that that part is negotiated through the streetscape fund instead of through the DPW contract.
I just think we just need to be
Logistical
careful
pain, but-
that if it's going into one fund that's maintaining, I have no idea what the number would be because 5% of something is something, and I don't know what that is. But it would, if it goes into a pot of money, a common pot of money that's doing the area, I just think it just got to be careful that we're not sort of have 5 different funds to do different things. It's going into the fund to help maintain.
Yeah, but that works not, it's a new contract, so I think it's cleaner
For
than
now,
it feels.
until that contract ends, and then they get a new contract, and then that contract is one big contract, and then, so.
Yeah, we all want the same thing. We don't want to just jump into the general fund.
We really like to look into a murky crystal ball on this board. Like, we got to break that habit.
So I would welcome on the last 2 points, both the commercial space and what you just proposed on the rent, a gross rent going to their fund, something that would sort of, your thoughts on it, including what you think it might be, the amount. because I don't want to sit down tonight, crystal ball, and, how much are you going to rent it for, and then what's 5% of that, and make sure that we're talking about the right gross rent and not,
Right.
after other things,
Right. I just did a quick calc just to put you in a frame. The space is 1,690 square feet. We really don't know what the rents are in the neighborhood. Maybe, I don't know if it's $40 or $60. I did 60, and it rounds up to 100,000. 5% of 100,000 is $5,000 a year. And if you apply a 5% cap rate to that, that's like a $100,000 contribution over time. So essentially $5,000 a year in that case. Now, whatever the rent is what it'll be.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be more or less.
Okay.
Order of magnitude, though, if that's helpful.
So
it's a hard stop.
Yeah, it is hard stop at 9:30. I feel like we have agreement on issues 1 through 4.
And good progress on 5 and 6.
I feel like we're still sort of in that I would say the board may be in agreement, but I'm not sure we all are. And then 6, I feel like that definitely, I appreciate the progress forward on that. We have unfortunately did not start and look at any of site plan review.
I do want to give a quick heads up about site plan review that I will personally want to see a new traffic study because it's from August, which I love August here because no one is here, of 2021 when work from home was still the norm and it was before e-bikes and scooters were I think we need a new traffic study. I'm just putting it out there because as a courtesy, heads up as early as possible.
So a new traffic study, perhaps you could consider this. The number of parking spaces that were in the building was almost double, right? I think it was, over 50 or 60 spots. 30, what do we have, 36 parking spaces?
36.
Is really a very small number in the world of traffic. To engage a traffic consultant at this time of year, at this stage in the project, to yield information that I don't think is going to be revolutionary, is going to delay this and make it very challenging. If you think it's absolutely necessary and without that you can't make a decision, then we'll have to do what we'll have to do. But we would respectfully ask you to consider the fact that the August or not, the traffic study, there's always a problem with some time of year. So the January is when the people are on vacation, et cetera. And so the number of spaces is pretty minuscule in the scheme of a traffic pattern. And I don't think we'll find that it's going to move the needle from August. We do a lot of traffic studies and we know how the patterns work and we know the results, and we also know that hardly anybody understands it or reads it. So we would just ask to keep all that context in mind if you could reconsider.
Can we ask the town engineer whether they think a new traffic study is warranted, so that we have that feedback? And if they do, I'd be hesitant to go against the town engineer. And if they don't, I'd also be hesitant to go against the town engineer.
Well, and there may be an ancillary question to that. Maybe a second look at that study and say, is there some shortcut that they could look at and maybe reach. I don't know that patterns change that much. I think we're talking volume differences.
Yeah, so just a little bit of context. Both myself and the town engineer have reviewed the previous project, and it was almost double that project, which was peer reviewed by Tool Design, was for almost double the capacity of what this project is. I can ask the town engineer to have his opinion in writing, but he has expressed to me in passing that he does find the existing traffic study to be adequate, but I can get that in writing for you.
That's good.
Perhaps we don't need it in writing. but it might be helpful.
Maybe we'll just have him come
Yeah,
to
just
a
have him
meeting
come here
and
and talk
chat
to
with
us.
us, even if it's a special meeting during the day, so it doesn't have to. I know we love to haul him out here at night. I think it would be helpful for people. Sidewalks where we put the curb
we
cuts,
did
crosswalks.
not make it through any of, can you give us a preview of where we will be going next step?
Sure.
Because you've done a lot of work to get us to a point tonight, but I think it was very important to hear from the public, very important to get these questions. I think we're, again, we approved the height and FAR on conditions. We need to know where those conditions are, because I consider the height a closed matter if those conditions are met. But if they're not, then maybe it's not. Of course.
So for the board and everyone in the public, what is in the packet online is the submission requirements and the site plan review requirements for this project. You have the submission requirements, which is broken down into the section, the requirement, and then the document, which is later on in the packet, which one it is applied to, or which one it applies to. For the planning board, it's your responsibility to understand that each one has been sufficiently submitted, and then through site plan review, it's the planning board's responsibility to go standard by standard to determine if the applicant has made reasonably adequate provisions to meet the requirements of each standard. This comes directly from the Central Business District bylaw. In the packet, you will have staff comments on most of them, particularly relating to traffic safety, pedestrian safety, emergency vehicle access, stormwater, so on and so forth. And lastly, you'll have the waivers that have been requested and have been voted on, at least in certain extent by the planning board. This is what we wanted to go through today, is go step by step, approving every portion of the site plan review, but we didn't get to it, so hopefully next time. Oh, and then there's, of course, this special permit after this, too. So there's a whole nother graph that you're not even seeing, or table.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate all the work that you put into getting that done just in time for tonight, so we couldn't use it. But
A nice preview, though.
So we are going to continue this public hearing. We have slightly changed the way we're doing our meetings. We're going to have one meeting a month for regular business, and then we're going to schedule a meeting as needed each month for special permit review, so that, like tonight, if we had ZBA applications, they didn't have to wait till 9:30 to come to us. So our next regularly scheduled meeting, it says it's on there's one on, in one of the applications, it said there was one coming. It is the 6th. I think there was someplace where it had a mistake. The next meeting's on the 6th, and that we will be doing ZBA reviews, assuming that we have any, and other matters before the board. So the question for this board, and I would like to ask the applicants as well, is whether either the 13th or the 27th work. As it turns out, on the 20th, which would be the normally scheduled meeting, I'm out of town, and I think this is important enough that we need to have all 5 members at all meetings. So to the board, is there a preference for the 6th or the 13th or the 27th of January?
Either is fine with me. I don't know about the
I was going to ask them next and see if one was preferable then, but I want to make sure that... Either one? Okay, so to you.
Either one.
The 13th would be preferred. I happen to be out of town on the 27th.
Okay.
Okay with that?
Okay. So I would welcome a motion to continue this public hearing to the 13th of January at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock in this room.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to the public. And we will make a lot more progress then. And please do get whatever you can to Mr. Serbier.
Yes.
Because they're going to be able, then they'll be able to vote and have a recommendation for us potentially by the time they're done.
So our next regular meeting is the 6th?
Yes.
But that will not be...
That will not be discussing this.
Okay.
The meeting on the 6th will be ZBA opinions and whatnot.
Happy holidays.
So we are back in session after a brief recess. We have other business, a board and staff updates, and I have an update of a direction that I think we need to be going based on two issues that I've been dealing with, and that regards section 3.5, which is non-conforming uses and structures. This is something that we promised a while back. I said it was my baby. I wanted to do some work on this. We've had two issues in recent days that impact that. The first was we had a ZBA petition at our last meeting where a non-conforming house was to be demolished and a conforming house was to be built. And there was a great deal of debate on whether that needed a special permit or not. We sat down, John and I sat down with the building commissioner and reviewed 3.57. I still don't believe it does need a special permit, but the fact that the building commissioner and we don't necessarily agree on something that should be clear. There's an easy fix for it, which is just another bullet that says, essentially, a non-conforming building being torn down to build a dimensionally conforming house on a conforming lot is by right. It'd be a simple bullet to add that.
The demolition is by right.
Yeah. So, we sat down with Tom. We all agreed what we all think is sanity, what it should say. And we could debate whether or not it actually does say that, or we could just make it clear so that we don't go down this road again.
Did you talk to Heather about it, out of curiosity?
I did not talk to Heather about it.
She might be a good
She has
step.
a lot of, I guess, institutional
Context.
knowledge.
She's good, yeah. And professional knowledge.
Yeah.
She does have a lot.
And professional, yeah.
I agree.
I specifically direct you to Heather.
But what I'll say this is that the building commissioner right now,
No, I agree it's
thinks that
confusing.
this
I'm
needs
just
to
saying
happen.
before you finalize the change.
well, nothing's going to be
suggest-
final.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of iterations on this. This is going to be a
I
first
know.
draft. That's then going to go to the building commissioner and say, would you be okay with this?
I'm just saying that earlier you consult with someone who might have context for it. Probably more time you'll save. It's just a thought. You could throw it out.
It's not. As you read it, you can't believe you're reading what you're reading. Really, it's like
Yeah, no, I read it.
it's
Yeah.
non-conforming, sort of non-desirable. And, you want to replace it with something that is conforming, which is kind of artificial or desirable.
I don't think I would equate conforming and desirable, but I agree in the spirit. I'm just saying the letter of it, I don't think the point of it, because so many properties in this town are non-conforming because they were pre-existing when the bylaw was written. So desirability is like neutral because it just sort of like the line goes there, whoops. But I think the spirit of the law was to contain growth, which is not necessarily still appropriate. So I agree we should change it, but I don't think it's because of the desirability.
I'm not, well, I went back to the 2017 vote when they made this change, and I watched it on WinCam, and then I went back to the town meeting motion booklet, and nowhere does it give an intent behind it. It says to clarify it.
That's why I would ask Heather.
But the intent was not represented to town meeting, and it was not represented, so therefore all we can go by, her intent or anyone's intent that was internal but wasn't voted on is not the intent of the bylaw.
It's been, I consider myself from Providence and I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm not going to argue with this tonight. So let's
fair enough.
Wrap it up as soon as possible.
Other issues, but I don't feel like talking about them tonight because I'm done too. Anything else?
The tree committee has officially transitioned the chair. It is no longer me. It is Austin Whitmore. He's outstanding. I encourage you to work with him whenever you can, and whenever there are properties moving forward that have trees at all, they'll be a great resource, and he will be a good person to consult with.
We're going to punt the minutes till the next meeting.
Yeah.
So I welcome a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, WinCam.
Good, mate.